So what we're going to do now is show how we would go from a squat without a chair or unassisted squat up to the point where we might add a little bit of weight or even add a barbell onto Luke's back. Right? So in the beginning, we just want to get this movement down, get a feel for how you're supposed to feel at the bottom of this squat movement. Luke is going to take a position where his heels are about underneath of his shoulders, so heels are about shoulder width, and his toes are pointed out slightly. And then now what I want you to do is squat down and shove your elbows down into the insides of your knees. So he's going to shove his knees out wide by pushing out with his elbows. That's important because the wider your knees are, the more of those hip muscles we include. And for an exercise like this, we want to include as much musculature as possible, right? So this is the bottom of his squat. He's going to kind of memorize this and take a snapshot of where his legs are as he's in this position. And then when he goes to squat up, he's going to drive up. And I'll show you what that looks like from a different angle over here. Okay, this is the important part of coming up out of the squat. It's something we would call hip drive, meaning that Luke might be used to, or you might have had cueing in the past, about driving up, head and chest up. And that's a really common cue that a lot of people get. It's not necessarily the worst way to do it, but if we want to include the most muscle, we want to think about driving up from his hips. So he's going to push into my fist when he comes up. That's where all your power is, back here in the hips. If he stays a little bit more forward, he's going to include all that extra muscle that would otherwise wouldn't be emphasized if he was more upright. Go ahead and do a more upright squat. You're kind of doing it the wrong way. Try to stay tall on the way down this time. Good. So that head and chest up is something that's really, really common to see, even with folks who have been training for a long period of time. There's no such thing as a bad squat, but there's squats that include more musculature and there's squats that include less. And most of the time, if we're working on getting stronger, we want to include as much muscle as possible. So we want to think about driving the hips up every time, keeping the back angle a little more horizontal and leaning forward. Even if it feels a little strange at first, it's something you'll get used to and you'll be able to have a higher ceiling on how much weight, how many repetitions you can do. It ends up being an overall more useful, fundamental exercise. I think that most people who are squatting, most athletes, if they're squatting for strength, the hip squat should be in their programming, if not the dominant type of squat that they're doing.